Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hey, everybody. Tonight's episode is going to be probably a little bit of a quick one because I'm behind a little bit with this whole transition thing, and I'm heading down to Pahrump to visit my great nieces and kind of check on the land and some permit stuff and keep that hopefully moving forward. It's going to be kind of an interesting one, too. Basically, I was given this piece of advice, and I was told it was random. But I like thinking about this stuff, and I was thinking about it in terms of lifting and stuff, and I thought, this is horrible advice, and, well, I'm going to do a podcast on it. So the advice basically was, you don't have to be tough all the time. When this was told to me, if you've ever had people tell you something and it just kind of like you're just like set back where you're like you don't even really know exactly how to respond. You just kind of take it in for a second and collect many thoughts and just go, what the fuck? Yeah. Birds fly, the sky is blue, concrete's hard. Okay, yeah, you don't have to be tough all the time. Why are you telling me this? Like, why did you even waste the energy, the words, or the oxygen to say that? And I think that it goes down to, I think this is probably something after my BMX wreck and smacking my head on the concrete. And the fact that I'm like, I'm fine, dude. What is the big deal? I had an accident, hit my head, skinned myself up. Who cares? Got back on my bike, rode another 5 miles. Like, big deal. And then everybody's like, are you okay? Are you okay? How are you? And it's like, yeah, I'm fine. I wrecked my bike. So what? Who cares? It's not a big deal. And I think that bothers people. I think that bothers some people. I think everyone tries to compare themselves to everyone else. And I think that's not the best thing in the world. And then if you live up to a standard, or you have a standard that you live up to and they don't, or they can't live up to that standard, it kind of bothers them. So they try to break you down to justify what they do. And I think this is kind of the case when they told me this. Because at first it's like, okay, yeah, like have you seen me with my, like I'm going down to visit my great nieces. Have you seen me with my great nieces? Have you ever seen me with kids? Like kids are awesome, man. I love kids. I love my niece and nephews. I love my great nieces. Like I just have fun hanging out with them and talking to them and riding bikes with them. Like, have you seen me with any of my girlfriends in the past? And, I can be a pretty touchy-feely, levy kind of guy. Like, I'm not tough all the time. Why are you telling me I don't need to be tough all the time? And I could say back to you, maybe, you don't have to be a bitch all the time either. And you don't have to be a big sissy all the time either. Like, there's times where you can be tough. And there's other times where, like, I'm not being tough. This is who I am. Like sometimes shit hurts. Who cares? Sometimes shit goes bad. Who cares? Like what do people define as being tough? For me, wrecking your bike and keeping going, that's not tough. That's just who I am. Like, what do you want me to do? You want me to like sit on my butt and whine and cry about it? Like, I don't understand. it's kind of similar to when people ask me about my narcolepsy and the fact that my sleep just sucks and I'm exhausted most of my life. Well, it's just that's what it is. That's my life. Like I talk about it to try and help other people deal with their problems. I talk about it to try to explain that, like, listen, depression is something you can kind of get a hold of, but there's going to be times where you're going to feel it no matter what. But I don't consider myself tough because I go to work and I never miss. I don't consider myself tough because I pay my bills. I don't consider myself tough. Like, to me, that's just life. That's just what you do. So that's what I do. Like, I didn't call my clients up and go, I can't train you today because I wrecked my bike. Like, I don't even think about that being tough. That's just what you do. So this whole thing got me very interested in like the definition of words and what people see their life as and what they think about when they say they respect someone, or if they're tough, or like I am who I am. I don't think about these things all the time, but when I say I respect someone, I have an idea what respect means to me. If I say somebody's tough, I have an idea what tough is. And I think a lot of people just talk and they don't really have anything to fucking say. And they don't think about the words they say. So as I was thinking about this over the next few days, I took two big takeaways that I can translate into training. The first is stop taking advice from idiots. That's my blunt way to say this. A kinder way would be don't take advice from people that you don't respect or people that aren't where you want to be. So I actually had one time where this was after I broke the 3 lift bench press or the full meet bench press world record in the WPO. So I had the highest bench press of a full meet competitor in the world. And I was talking to this other bench, like a bench specialist, and he was like, "Yeah, if you need some help with that with your bench press, let me know." And I thought, dude, I literally bench more than you do, and I squat and deadlift. What? I mean, thanks, but like, I think I got it. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying everybody has to beat you to learn from them. I'm not saying that. But it was just the way that this guy said it, and it was like, I've talked to you and listened to you, and I already know way more than you do. So I have had people that don't lift what I lift, but I know that they're smart and I want to take their advice. Especially if you're looking at, there's some older power lifters that I had probably beat their numbers, but back in their day, they were the best in the world. And I got a lot of great advice from people like that. So I'm not saying that, but when I was coming up in my career and when I first started like really competing in powerlifting, and I was lifting at a gym here locally, and I remember, man, I'm listening to everybody, and there's all these power lifters and some local guys and stuff like that, and I'm listening to them, and I'm doing what they're doing, and I'm like, man, listen, this I don't know enough. What I'm doing is not working. Even listen to these people, it's going to take me forever to get to where I want to go. I go, I don't know enough, so I started researching people and who I wanted to learn from and trying to find out as much information as I could, which is when I found Dave Tate of Elite Fitness, who just amazing. I will never be able to thank them enough for everything they did for my lifting career and just the help and assistance and always being there and allowing me to coach and help people at their seminars. It's just an amazing company, amazing people. But I start listening to them, and then I come back to the gym, and everybody's like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that? We all do this." And I just thought, wait a minute, Chad. Like, look around you right now. Look at this gym. Try to remember everybody that trains at this gym. Is there anyone in this gym giving you advice that has been even remotely close to where you want to go? And there wasn't. And I just remember thinking, why am I listening to these people? Like, just because I don't know doesn't mean that they do. Like actually step back and think about what these people are saying. And then for me, I was fortunate at that point that I had been around some good lifters, top level lifters, and I'm comparing what the two of them said. And it became very clear to me that I need to start paying attention to who I'm listening to. And even clearer to me that I need to pay attention to who I'm around. And that was about the time that I decided I wanted to form my own team and handpick my own guys that I am around. And part of that process was to pick guys that were willing to learn, to see the team as the number one, and to keep advancing, so that I knew I was always surrounded by guys that continually wanted to be better, that continued to want to learn, want to think. They weren't just coming to the gym pounding away. They were doing the stuff outside of the gym that they needed. When they came into the gym, they were thinking and analyzing and not just going through the motions or coming in there like a raging bull, just lifting heavy and then leaving. There was actually thought going on, and they actually saw themselves as athletes that wanted to learn, wanted to improve, and wanted to get better. It wasn't just about pounding weight, lifting heavy. So that was kind of my major takeaway from this, and that whole thing expands into life. Like, really, I also remember I have some friends that most of them actually started as lifters, and they end up getting these like groups of people, followers, and they end up having these like men's retreats and stuff. And I'm pretty antisocial guy, so I never really kind of got into that. But now I'm looking back at it and listening to this advice. I'm like, you know what? When you stop and think about it, that's actually pretty smart, because these people are like, hey, I'm sick of all the people that I'm around, and I need to surround myself with some similar thinking people. Not completely the same thinking, but similar in terms of, I want to get better. I want to improve. I don't want to stay where I'm at. And I want to continue to do this. I want this to become part of who I am, the person who's always trying to improve and get better. And I think that for me, I tend to spend a lot of time alone, because then I am around other people who think like me. I'm around myself. And that's probably hugely egotistical. But when I'm around myself, I'm really positive and I'm really happy. And at this point in my life, like, I've conquered the vast majority of my anger. Like, I don't get pissed off when a problem comes up. I go, how can I solve this? What's the best way I can get through this? And what can I learn from this? So when I'm alone, I have that. And then when I get around a lot of people sometimes, especially when it's people that I haven't chosen, but you end up in a situation somewhere, you go to a concert or you're at a picnic or like a work function, or you're at your work. And it's really interesting when you've gotten to a place where you can sit back and not talk, but just listen and observe. And you start listening to the people and the gossip, and you start watching how people treat each other and the things they say. And they might say this one thing, and then they go to somebody else and they say another thing. And you just see, like, this is horrible. This is the energy is really negative. And I think at some point I like to think that I could be put in any situation and stay positive. And that's my goal. My goal is to be so in control and so strong emotionally and mentally that I can be in any situation and not let it affect me. But as an empathetic person, I really feel the energy that people put off. And I feel an energy when I walk into a room or a gym. And I haven't mastered being able to fully control not letting that affect me. I'm a lot better than I used to be, but it's something I'm still working on to create. In the meantime, I have chosen that why would I put myself in those situations depending on the severity if I don't need to? I would rather stay positive and be happy, so I would rather spend the vast majority of my time with positive, happy people. If I have a goal that I'm shooting for, whether that be a business goal, a lifting goal, or just learning how to train a horse, I would rather surround myself with the kind of people that are positive and put off that positive energy. I don't want to talk to somebody about training a horse and you're like, you don't know nothing about horses. Why are you working with a horse? Well, that's dumb. Like, let somebody who knows horses train a horse. I want to be with somebody that goes, wow, that's cool that you're learning to do that. That's cool that you're positive enough that you can just jump right in and start doing that. Like I want to be around people that see that positivity and boost you up. I often say I want to be the tide because the tide raises all ships. Well, I want to be the tide and I want to be around people that are the tide. I don't need to be around people that want to drag me down. There's no benefit to that except that when I'm in that situation, I can choose to go, hey, am I strong enough to overcome this? But at the same, it's kind of like it's an old saying about like walking in the rain or something, and like something, be strong enough to love the nature and the rain and the water. And then the other guy says, well, be smart enough to get out of the rain. So there's kind of like this combination of both. You need to test yourself. And through that testing and through that suffering, you will get better. But there's also the intelligence to go, you know what, there's other ways I can work on this, or I know that life is going to put this in front of me, so I'm going to train it all the time on my own without putting myself in that situation, knowing that life is eventually going to put me in that situation, and then I will be able to actually train it in that field. But that's one of the big things. The second thing, I'm going to look on my phone here because I actually typed it in. What is tough, which I kind of talked about a little bit, but like what is tough and what is tough in terms of training? So again, this goes back to what people define things as. So one of the things with training I've always struggled with is people that love to lift and they want to justify and praise their ability to lift hard and heavy. So you'll take a lifter that's like, oh man, I trained so hard. I trained harder than anyone else. Dude, if I go drinking Friday night, I'm still in the gym Saturday morning. And I'm so tough, dude. Nobody out train me. And I'm like, well, I don't think you're tough. I actually think you're kind of an idiot. You could have went home, not drank alcohol, got to bed early, and came into the gym fully recovered, trained hard, and then got back into recovery after the gym. But you completely blew your recovery, went into the gym, and even if you did train as hard, it probably wasn't as hard as you could have, because if you put a bunch of effort in after a night of drinking and partying and dehydration and not enough food or shitty food, you can train hard, but you're not going to get the same effect as if you went and slept and did what you needed to do and then came in and trained that hard. You would get a much better result. So I don't think that's tough. I don't think that's smart. I've, with all the backlash I've gotten in my powerlifting career, because you don't train enough, or I train harder than you, why are you stronger than me? Like all this stuff. That's because I train intelligently. And first off, with my sleep issues, I had to adjust my training because I was not about, it wasn't about beating my, well, let me change this. When I lifted and I was younger, and when I lifted coming up in my 20s, it was honestly, if I wouldn't have admitted this at the time, but looking back now, I trained because it's how I regulated myself and how I regulated all the pissed off anger of life that I had. When I decided to become a power lifter, I was forced to recognize, do you want to be the best or do you want to train hard? And again, my definition of training hard was going in and beating myself up 5 or 6 days a week. I decided I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the absolute best that I could be. And my goal was to put up the all time total, which I fell a little bit shy of, but thus is life. So to me, being tough is doing what needs to be done no matter what it is, no matter what you like to do, no matter what you enjoy. The smartest thing to get you to your goal, that's tough. So I enjoyed beating the crap out of myself in the gym. I enjoyed going completely berserk, balls to the wall, loved it. Loved doing it every day. That was not going to make me the best power lifter that I could be. I could not recover enough from those sessions. All I was doing was beating myself up. And sure, I was still getting stronger, but not as strong as I could be. It wasn't until I started backing off, spending more time doing the stuff that I didn't like to do, that I really got good. And I would say the hardest, toughest thing I ever did in powerlifting was not training hard all the time. That sucked. That was worse than eating. That was worse than stretching. That was the absolute worst thing, was not training hard every single day. So again, what is tough to you? And I know a lot of lifters that train super, super hard and they reach like mid-level or they become a good lifter. And all they got to do is back off of training a little bit, focus more on sleep, focus more on nutrition, and like really hammer their recovery, learn their technique, fix their weak points, work on their movement patterns and their joint mobility, and bam, they would be like some of the best in the world. But they're not willing to do that. They love the training and they love training hard. And that's fine. That's fine. If that's, to me, that's fine if you admit that, okay, this is my main goal is to go to the gym and beat myself up. So however strong I get is how strong I get. That's just the way it is because I'm meeting my goal. But please don't say that you want to be the best if you're not willing to do what it takes to be the best. I know so many guys that do not get anywhere near enough sleep. And they're like, well, I'm fine. I'm a badass. I'm tough because I only get 4 hours of sleep. And I'm like, how is that tough? I mean, so you're going to be less strong than you could be, but you're going to call yourself tough. Like to me, being tough would go, no, I'm going to get 6 to 8 hours so I can be even stronger, so I can recover harder. And I think back to this, to Stan Efferding in one of the seminars I went to, and he's like, I love lifting heavy and I love lifting hard. So I make sure I'm in bed, I think he said 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock every night. And I thought, man, that's absolutely genius. So he loves training hard and heavy. But he knows that in order for me to do that, I have to earn that right to lift hard and heavy. And I earn that right by making sure I'm getting enough recovery that I can do that often. That's tough. Like that's a badass right there. So we go back again to life, and a lot of people go through life. I know people that talk about how hard they work, and they're really working hard because they don't really like their wife or their girlfriend, or they don't their kids drive them nuts. So it's like, wait a minute, are you really working hard because you want to work hard? Or are you working hard because you have to work hard? Like if you're doing it because you want to, because you're just like, dude, I'd rather stay at work for 2 more hours and go home. Well, then what's the big deal? You're doing what you want. Like I don't claim to be a badass because of how hard I train or how hard I used to train. I mean, I'm 53 now. Honestly, when I do train, I train hard. But there's also I've learned that I don't really see myself as this great, hard, intense trainer anymore. But when I train fully with intent. I have full focus on what I'm doing. Sometimes I know I can't train with super high energy levels or super heavy weight because it's not going to help me get stronger. So some days I have to back it off and I just train with intent, but it might not be anything that heavy. It might be a grip day. It might be a rotator cuff day, forearm day. There's times that I go in and just do recovery GPP work, which is like, yeah, it's a quick pace, but to me, that's not heavy. To me, you're not training hard unless you're training heavy. And so I don't have as many heavy days as I used to, but when I do them, I'm still pushing as hard as I can. And I know it for days afterwards. But it comes down to being honest with yourself. Can you be truly honest with yourself enough that you can see what you're actually doing? Can you step outside yourself and look at yourself objectively without any feelings, without any emotions, and be 100% honest with yourself? Like, are you training so hard because you want to or because that's what you need to? And I know when I talk to a lot of people about training hard, and a lot of my clients, my online clients, we go through a process, and I kind of try to get them to think and start processing their training and how they need to look at it. And a lot of guys are like, "Oh no, I know I can't train less. Like I need to train more." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what makes you think you need to train more?" Well, I want to get stronger, so I need to train more. I'm like, "Well, what logic is there to that?" Well, that's just the way it is. That's just the way I am. I go, well, how do you know? Well, I just know. Okay, well, I mean, in the past, when you've ran into this before, what did you do? Well, I trained more. And what was the result? Well, I got hurt. Or I didn't get stronger, so I need to train even more. Or I got tendonitis, or, any number of things, but it was never good. And I'm like, have you ever tried backing off? No. I go, well, what, you're telling me you're training 4 heavy days a week right now. What if we cut you back to 3 heavy days a week and then a couple smaller sessions? That won't work. Okay, well, how do you know? Because I need to do more. I go, but every time you've done more in the past, it didn't work. Why do you want to keep trying what didn't work? Why won't you at least try the other way? Well, just because it won't work. And I'm like, can you not see the logic? Like you've tried this way, it didn't work multiple times, yet you want to keep trying it. This other way, you've never tried, but you're convinced it won't work. And then inevitably, what happens is I eventually get these guys to back off a little bit. And, 4 or 5 months down the road, they're like, hey, man, my joints feel really great. My muscles feel great. Man, my flexibility's better. I'm lifting more weight than I ever have. And I lift less than I have, less often. They're like, I guess you were right. I'm like, yeah, told you. And then we start trying to really optimize their recovery. And sometimes we can optimize their recovery and pick some sessions back up. But it's kind of a process they have to go through. And they're just so convinced that it won't work. But what they need to do is they got to look back and go, wait a minute, why? There's no logic to your thinking. So why are you thinking that? And almost always it's an emotional thing. Like they don't want to train less. They like training heavy. They want to train more. And that's fine. Like honestly, if somebody came to me and said, Chad, I love killing myself in the gym, man, I love doing it 5 days a week. I don't really care what I lift. I just want to go lift heavy and I want to do this. Will you train me? I'd be like, hell yeah, dude. I will give you some of the sickest, most messed up, difficult training sessions you've ever had. I'm good with it. If that's your goal is to just test yourself mentally, cool, let's do it, man. Don't come to me and say you're bitching. Don't come to me and bitch about how strong you are, though. Like, or the numbers that you're lifting. And I think that's one of the hardest things for a lot of athletes to do is to really step outside themselves and be completely honest. Like, why are you doing what you do? If you tell me that you want to be the best and you want to push your body and you want to bench as much as you can possibly bench, but you're not getting in your calories, I'm going to, doesn't seem to me like you want what you said you want. If you're not getting your 8 hours plus of sleep, doesn't seem to me like you want it. But I'm training hard, but I'm training hard. But why? Why are you training hard and missing all this other stuff? Like, ask yourself that. Back up and ask yourself that. Like, how bad do I really want what I say I want? Do I just like saying that I want it? And am I going to just make excuses for everyone that does better than me to justify what I'm doing? Or am I actually going to do it? And am I really getting the amount of sleep that I need to get? Am I really eating as much as I need to get? If I have somebody who's intelligent that comes to me and goes, Chad, dude, you're not eating enough. You need to eat more. Am I going to go, oh, bullshit, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not, whatever, man. Or am I going to go, let me look at this. Why do you think I need to eat more? Oh, because of this, this, and this. Well, you know what? That kind of makes sense. Okay, I'm going to try it. I've never ate to that level, so I'm going to try to eat to that level. And this is where I've always said that strength is like 90% mental. Because I've seen so many people that have the physical potential and the genetic potential to be amazing lifters, but they never quite get there. And it's usually some mental thing. It's usually some roadblock like this. And quite honestly, I can bring this down to a lot of people that are heavy or fat and they want to lose weight. And I go, listen, it's pretty simple. Like, we're not trying to get you ready for a bodybuilding show. Here's how you lose weight. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I can't do that. I won't do that. Well, then you don't want to lose weight. You want to lose weight without doing any work. And that's not possible. So you really don't want to lose weight. So just either own the truth and say you don't want to lose weight, or figure out, why do I really want to lose weight? Because why, when he tells me what I need to do I keep arguing and saying I can't do that, or I don't like that, or I can't do this? You're just making excuses to justify that you don't want to do the work. So you're like, I just can't lose weight. It's genetic. No, it's not. Anybody can lose weight. Everybody can lose weight. So what this person needs to do is go deeper into themselves and into their psyche and their mind and figure out why they're making these excuses. I like sugar as much as the next guy. I love crappy food. But I know if I eat crappy food all the time, I'm going to be huge, and not in a good way. At the same time, I will admit to you that I don't want to do what it would take to get to 7% body fat, because I don't care. I'm not going on stage. I'm not wearing Speedos to the beach. So I eat based on the standards that I have for myself. And I brought up standard a couple times. So we did a couple episodes back. I have to say that John Anderson brought up the concept of standards and not even having goals or anything. You have a standard for yourself and how you're willing to live. And I think that was just a genius thing. So I want to give him a little credit. I really liked the way he explained that. So go back, if you haven't watched that episode, go back and watch that episode. So we all set a standard for ourselves. And like, if you claim, oh, I don't want to be this fat, well, then why are you that fat? And then when somebody tells you how to do it, why do you make excuses? And you need to think about that in your brain, in your head, and you need to check your emotions and check your ego and really think about that, because you could fix that problem and bam, I bet you start losing weight right away. I bet you go, you know what, I can do this. I'm going to stick with it. And so the same guys, you have the athletes that are like beating the crap out of themselves in the gym and they can't back off. Why do you feel the need to beat yourself up in the gym every day? You know, for me, that's how I handled life. That's how I handled some anger and and I had to go figure out how to fix those issues so that I could handle not killing myself in the gym every day. And once I started backing off and getting my recovery, my strength went way up. And I was able to have a fairly decent time in powerlifting. So it's just interesting. I think these are the kind of things that people need to start thinking about. And in terms of lifting, stop just looking at it as lifting and start looking at it in the mental side of it. And why am I doing this? Why am I not doing this? If I go in the gym and I never work on my technique, but I claim I want to be this great lifter, why is that? If I'm going to the gym and I'm lifting heavy and I'm getting big and I'm getting muscular and I keep fucking up my shoulder, and intelligent people have said, hey, you know, your mobility is horrible and that's affecting your technique, which is affecting the position of your joint, which is messing your shoulder up all the time. Why aren't you listening to them and doing the flexibility and mobility they suggest to get your shoulder healthy? What's holding you back? It's not physical, because you can do the stretches, you can do the mobility, you have the time. So what really is holding you back? You know, and think about the excuses that you make not to do that, and think about, you know, where all this stuff is coming from. Where's the root of the problem that's holding you back from actually going after your goals? And I see this all the time. People in the squat, the bench, the deadlift, who cannot hit the right positions because they don't have the flexibility or mobility, but they will not stretch. They will not do any mobility work. And it's like you're squatting 100 pounds less than you have the strength to do because you won't stretch. Why? When you say you want to be the best you can be and you want to go to these competitions and you want to win these competitions, why? What is holding you back from doing that stretching and meeting your goal? Because it's not time. It's not the physical ability. It's something in your head that is keeping you from going forward and doing that action. And that's where you need to take a little bit of time, step outside yourself and think about it. Think about, wait a minute, why am I not doing it? And hopefully when you step back and you see it from the outside, you go, what's my problem, man? Like, I could put 100 pounds on my squat in probably like less than 6 months if I just started stretching. What the hell? Why am I not stretching? You know, or like, I have no idea what I'm doing in bracing, and I'm just watching every Joe Blow in the gym and I'm listening to every idiot's advice. But you know what? I watched this video of Andy Bolton. And Andy Bolton's one of the greatest deadlifters of all time. And he said, when I brace, I need to push out against my belt. Why are you listening to all the other idiots instead of listening to Andy Bolton? Why? That's the question. If you can answer some of those questions, you will be surprised how successful you can become. Okay. I hope that gives you guys something to just kind of fumble around in your brain, twist around in your brain, percolate in your brain, and start looking at all the things that you say you want to accomplish. Why am I not accomplishing them? What's really holding me back? And are the excuses that I make just excuses? Or is it really like maybe you work 12 hours a day, you need 8 hours of sleep, you train for two, you got two eating and prepping. Like maybe you don't have the time, but then maybe you need to cut the time somewhere else. Like normally it is more of a mental issue than an actual physical issue. Like for me, I could go, well, I need more sleep. Okay, how am I going to get more sleep? Well, I mean, I've positioned my life where I'm in bed 8 to 10 hours a night. I have narcolepsy. I'm probably only going to get 6 on a good night. So there is a little bit of a limit, but I also go, okay, well, this is what I have. Now, what else can I do? Can I optimize my nutrition more? Can I get my technique better? Can I get my flexibility better? How else can I adjust to overcome this one thing? But I never just quit. I never go, well, it's not possible. I still research sleep, not all the time anymore, because sometimes I need a break from it. But I still research it. Is there any new ideas out there? Are there any new supplements out there? Are there any new drugs out there? Like, what else new can I still try? Can I go back and try something that didn't work before, but maybe now it will? I'm still out there. I'm still looking. I'm not just writing it off and saying, no, I can't do it. And this was basically if you were to track my whole powerlifting career, I did an evolution and I evolved, and part of what I evolved is this kind of thinking. And then when I kind of stopped competing, I quit looking at things that way and then quickly realized that, hey, wait a minute, what got me as a good powerlifter, I need to be doing in the rest of my life too. So now I do it in the rest of my life. But when I first started powerlifting, I trained my ass off all the time. Well, it got me to a certain level and then it was stuck. And in order to get to the next level, I had to back off of my lifting and focus more on my recovery. That was a huge mental block for me. And I had to clear out that mental block so that I was actually able to do it. And it didn't happen right away, but it started. The change started right away and then built up over time to get bigger and stronger. And, there's times where I'm like, I just want to lift. I just want to lift heavy. And I made excuses and I said, I need more recovery and I don't have time for that stuff. And then I started getting hurt. And then I realized, oh, hey, those stupid little exercises you hate to do, you're justifying that you can't do them because you hate doing them. So you need to wake up and stop lying to yourself because you can find time to do those, even though you hate them. So do you want to stop the injuries? Okay, then you need to stop making the excuses and find the time and do them, even though you hate them. It was always, I never had anything that was truly, oh, you can't do it. My sleep's probably the biggest thing. And it's like, well, okay, I'm not going to get 8 because I would probably have to be in bed 16 hours every day. And I just can't do that. I have to make a living. But I still tried what's the best things I can do. When we found out I had apnea on top of the narcolepsy and everything else, I got on a CPAP. I wore my CPAP till I stopped competing and I was able to drop weight and the apnea is no longer an issue. Still have the other issue. I've done everything I can do to try and optimize that to get it worth the best it is now. And I think I can still get it better, which I'm working on. But the point being, most of the things that hold us back in this world are mental. And we're not realizing that we're fooling ourselves, kidding ourselves, lying to ourselves, whatever word you want to use. And we need to be able to look past that, step outside ourselves and look past that. And this, again, this goes back to what I said in the first one, too. You can surround yourself with people that will help you make those lies and justifications to yourself. You can surround yourself with people that go, yeah, dude, you're just screwed, man. You work harder than anybody I know. Like, you're such a badass, dude. You just don't have the genetics, man, or you're just not on the drugs. Or you can find someone that goes, hey, man, you think you're tough, but I know for a fact you're not getting the sleep you need. I know for a fact you're not eating as much as you should be eating. And I know you never stretch anything. So you may call yourself a badass and you may say you train so hard, but all I see is you're training physically hard, but all the other stuff, you don't train hard at all. That's the guy you want around you that calls you on your bullshit. Because I think we all have a little bit of a tendency to bullshit ourselves. So it's good to be around and have that group of people that is going to feed you the truth. And they're feeding you the truth not because they want to. Well, sometimes they might want to. They're a little bit of an asshole like me, maybe. But when you boil it down, I tell people the truth because I want to help them and I care. Like, I will go into that uncomfort zone. This doesn't feel good. I don't want to tell this person this. It might hurt their feelings or it's going to piss them off. I tell them anyway because that's what they need to hear. So these two kind of correlate. Surround yourself with good people so they can call you, but make sure you're calling yourself too. And tough. Are you tough? What is tough? This is me. I am who I am, and that's it. I do what I do. Am I tough? I don't know, sometimes. Sometimes I'm probably not. Who cares either way? This is me. Like, I set my standards for myself, and I'll live up to those standards. So somebody telling me I'm tough or not tough, I really don't give a shit. But it is fun and interesting to think about. And I hope you guys think about this stuff. I'm out of here. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit couragebarbell.com. Until next time.